Any man who comes into a high secure prison with an accusation of a sex offence against them is inevitably going to encounter a whole range of difficulties.
Just over a month ago, the Met Police swooped into the Ecuadorian embassy behind me, and 6 officers carried a reluctant Assange out after nearly 7 years inside. The whistleblower was whisked away to London's notorious Belmarsh prison, where he remains locked up next to some of Britain's most infamous inmates. To find out more about Britain's prison systems and how Assange is likely to be treated inside, I'm joined by Pepsi Watson, who spent more than 13 years inside Britain's prisons.
What I would say to that question is prisons in England have always been these kind of dark, hidden away places, hidden away from the public, where bad things happen, deaths, suicides, abuse, and that can be covered up and has been covered up over the past decades and over the past years gone by. So I would say that it hasn't been blown up. Belmarsh is a high secure prison which holds dangerous men and which has had notorious previous inmates, people like Lee Rigby's killers, Ian Huntley, Ronnie Biggs, the great train robber, Charles Bronson, England's longest serving prisoner. And they're bad men and they're dangerous men. When one of Lee Rigby's killers came here, he was in an altercation with prison officers, which resulted in his teeth being knocked out. So bad things do happen in HMP Belmarsh, yeah. High profile prisoners in English prisons have an aura about them. They carry with them into the prison landings an aura where everybody's talking about them on the landing. The prison officers are talking about them. The prison officers are going home to their wives and partners and talking about them. I was in prison in HMP Norwich many years ago with Tony Martin, who had been convicted of murder, which got later reduced to manslaughter on appeal, which was a very high profile case where he'd shot a repeat burglar and killed him with a shotgun after his farm had been burgled and robbed on numerous occasions. There was a massive public outcry. So he was a high profile prisoner. He was very quiet. He was Tony Martin was actually left alone by other prisoners, and he was quite respected because a lot of people agreed that what he did was arguably justified. So he was kind of left alone. But yeah, Julian Assange and HMP Belmarsh, he's extremely high profile. He will have a massive aura about him within HMP Belmarsh. People will just want to get a look at him through the gate, or he'll be spoken about. Um, News about him will spread like wildfire around the prison. He'll be on the news. People will be watching him on the news. But at the same time, HMP Belmarsh, like I previously mentioned, has got a record for housing and detaining some of Britain's most notorious prisoners. So the prison officers here will be well equipped to deal with someone of the stature of Julian Assange. Oh, potentially, absolutely, yes. Any man who comes into a high secure prison in England with an accusation of a sex offence against them is inevitably going to encounter a whole range of difficulties. Um, the prison mentality, the pack mentality, the kind of prison, land in unofficial laws and rules, kind of dictate that anybody who comes in for an alleged sex offence, even if they haven't been found guilty, will be facing abuse, potential attacks. Um, I would say that because of how high profile Assange is, I would expect him to be housed on the HSU here, which is the high secure unit, where he won't have too much interaction with other prisoners. I think other prisoners who are savvy and well educated on current affairs and politics and such like, it potentially won't be too much of a big deal, because those kind of prisoners perhaps could maybe read between the lines as to the background of this, potentially trumped up rape charge. But other kind of prisoners who are maybe younger, got something to prove, could potentially target Assange for having a rape charge. I would say that due to the super incredible high profile of Julian Assange, his privacy has been limited for the past 7 years while he's been in the embassy, and that privacy, he's not going to get much more here. Um, in this prison, HMP Belmarsh, Assange will be detained under long periods of lockup. In most prisons around the UK, in England and Wales at the moment, sorry, prisoners are lucky to get 30 minutes of fresh air out of their cell a day. Belmarsh, with high profile prisoners, is notorious for keeping them locked up for long, long periods of time. Might come out of his cell for maybe an hour a day. He, due to his high profile nature, it's highly probable, in my opinion, that he will be monitored closer than normal. All his phone calls will be listened to. He will only get 10-minute phone calls. He'll be lucky to get one phone call a day. That will be monitored every day. Every single one of his incoming and outgoing letters will be very closely monitored and read by the security department here. He will be observed on visits. His visits list and visitors who come to apply to visit him will be thoroughly checked out. But so he'll have the privacy in his own cell, in his prison cell, but in these category A high security prisons like Belmarsh, the prison officers here and the security departments have got the resources to bug Assange's cell if they feel that they need to do that. In my opinion, I think that is likely. Prison officers will also be instructed to keep an eye on Assange, who he's talking to on the landing, and they will be making sure that he's monitored very closely. And it's also my opinion that the American government will be pressuring the British establishment for regular and up-to-date and consistent weekly, even daily intel on Julian Assange. Prolonged periods of isolation in solitary confinement has a catastrophic impact on a person's mental functioning. Despite the obvious differences between animals and humans, tests have proven on animals that when you put them in a cage together, then they will go crazy, lose their mind, and start to attack each other. My personal experience, I have been detained in 13 different segregation units in young offenders institutions and prisons all over England, and prolonged isolation for me, specifically in Aylesbury Young Offenders Segregation Unit, where I was kind of in and out of the segregation unit for long periods of time for 13 months. I lost my mind, I became skinny, I became extremely paranoid. I would forget what my own voice sounds like, so I would talk to myself because I'd forgotten what my own voice sounds like. Your ability to function and have healthy relationships on an interpersonal level is completely decimated because you just live in your mind, you become attached to your mind, and you're starved of human interaction. So you kind of die inside. You kind of die inside, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult in isolation to maintain good mental health because there's nothing to do other than think, and you lose your mind. And you see in prisons in America where they're kept in solitary confinement for years, and they start hallucinating, seeing insects on the wall, gouging chunks out of their faces, enduring catastrophic destruction in mental functioning. With Julian Assange, it's likely that he could end up in isolation. The long periods of bang up, even on the unit that he's in, is arguably isolation if he's only coming out for 30 or 40 minutes a day. When Abu Hamza was in this prison before he was extradited, he was here for 8 years, and his barrister said that the conditions that he was held under in this establishment, HMP Belmarsh, were horrendous. So it's a fact that Assange could remain detained here for years. I know he's serving a sentence at the moment, but that sentence will expire and he won't be released. He'll be detained here and he will go through a long, lengthy process where he's fighting extradition to the United States. So isolation, solitary confinement will be a part of Assange's near future, and he's going to have to find a way to cope with that and hang on to his mental health, and that's going to be a huge challenge for him. No, I don't expect conditions to improve due to that 50 plus £1 million investment from the Ministry of Justice. The 50 plus £1 million investment from former Prisons Minister Rory Stewart and current Justice Secretary David Gauke is a classic example of what can only be described as symptom resolution, which we consistently see from successive failing elected British politicians who are absolutely clueless about the criminal justice system. Now, that money is being invested in a number of prisons to prevent drugs coming into the prison in the hope that it will reduce violence. But history shows us that wherever there's a will, there's a way. Prisoners are very clever, very smart, and if they shut down specific avenues to get drugs into the prison, the authorities, then prisoners will just find other ways uh, in in a short period of time to get the drugs into the prison. So that money is a waste. Any investment, any significant investment of that kind of monetary figure of 40, 50 million, in my opinion, needs to be invested in updating the dilapidated communications and technology systems in all of the failing prisons in England and Wales, so that the up-to-date and accurate flow of information, positive and negative, about each prisoner between all the multidisciplinary teams and individual professionals working with said prisoner during their time in custody and post-release. And that is how you protect the public, and that is how you ensure that prisoners who remain dangerous remain in custody, and only the prisoners that are safe to be released are released.
What's up, folks? Eddie Ads here. It is the 29th of March, 2021, 12:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:33 p.m. In the United Kingdom. And I'm going to be joined very shortly by Mr. Pepsi Watson, who you just saw in a feature on RT. And Dolly actually just shared Sean's link, Sean Atwood, that is, where Pepsi did another in-person interview with Sean, which is premiering in at the top of the hour. So I'm going to be talking to Pepsi about what he's been working on recently, and then I wanted to get his take on U.S.-UK relations in the context of all of this, and additionally with respect to Mr. Assange as well, who is still in custody, for those that don't know. And Pepsi's doing a Q&A after the premiere, so that'll be in 2 hours at 3:15 p.m. Well, that's not 2 hours, 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So after Sean's premiere, and he did post, I think, a clip of part of the interview already, but it's going to be good to watch. And shout out to Quadrex and Dolly for checking in over in Ireland and Great Britain, folks as well. Anybody else checking in? As I said, Pepsi Watson, writer, author, is going to be joining me shortly, and he got out of custody. I want to say he's back in November, and then he just kind of worked on getting his momentum back before coming back on the alternative media sphere, as we're calling it. And shout out to whoever's checking in from Derby, United Kingdom. I actually don't know where that is. But let me just make sure Pep got my link. And I put most of his links in the description box, as well as his PayPal. So if people want to help he or I out in some sort of one-time sponsorship or Patreon, to be much appreciated. But just something before we're waiting for Peps, I wanted to mention that in Minnesota, there's a county rep who is proposing for secession from the state at large. So we're seeing a proposal for secession at the county level, and one might imagine that trend would extend eventually to the federal level. And that was something that I really struck me. I think it was posted, about 19 hours ago on WEAU, which is actually my former neck of the woods up in western Wisconsin. But just I thought that was pretty significant, given the state of things geopolitically in the United States, and the fact that, well, I mean, it's something I talked about with Ryan Dawson before in California. I think it was actually off camera. We were just talking about secession in general. It will war, and then civil war, and then secession, which, as you mentioned before, it's really an intelligence war more than anything. Information, persuasion, hypnosis. I just did a transcription, almost done, with or of Peter Duke's interview, interview I did with Peter Duke, which is really great. A lot of great info in there. And I'm starting to transcribe more and more interviews, that the ones that I found to be the most condensed and best info. For example, I did Chris Milligan's, which was really packed with a lot of great book recommendations, which I shared on my Patreon. And I'll probably I don't know if I published it publicly yet, which I might just eventually just do that and just release it all. But I gave it to my Patrons first, so I'll probably, I don't even know how to do that. Might just write as a post on my website, which on that, or in that same vein, my PeerTube has been set up. If anybody hasn't seen that already, it's unlimited storage for me, and it's my own server that I am paying for. vid.addyads.us, as in the United States. Vid, short for video, .addyads.us. And I am going to do my first live stream on there pretty soon. I am in communication with these tech guys who are helping me set it up, and I think it's only a matter of time before PeerTube reaches a critical mass, in the same sense as like a Reddit, but different in the sense that is the decentralized system of technology, which is, as opposed to the centralized systems that basically run or are de facto describe all of social media. Oh yeah, and as well as thank you for mentioning that, Dolly. I set up my Teespring as well, and I'm probably going to duplicate it on other outlets and stores, store providers, services, because I am aware of at least a couple people getting knocked off of Teespring. I don't want to jinx myself. So far, so good, but there's a few others like Zazzle, which I don't know if you can set up online stores, but I know you can order. And there's another one too that I just signed up for. But in the meantime, this is actually working out great. I think it's pretty decent pricing, and the products are good. I'm just kind of throwing designs out, and if stuff sticks, then people can, vote with what they buy and what they don't buy. So I just made this one. I don't like this color as the main one, but peaceful protest cured COVID. Here, I'll share it. Chrome tab. It's been here we go. Nope, that's not it. This is it. Okay. Yeah, here we go. And additionally, got a really big interview coming up tomorrow. I don't even know if I want to say it. Oh, I'm not even showing it, am I? My goodness. Okay, let's do this. So I think someone already bought like the Iconis Lure one, and I know my friend Norman, if anyone knows, kind of the Osprey group of people who follow George Webb, Norman Smith really liked the public intelligence stuff, so he bought I think a couple of those, but this is the one I was referring to. It's pretty. I made myself laugh with that one, but I'm gonna buy one of my own at some point here. But thanks again to Dolly for reminding me about that. So I'm gonna also talk to Pepsi about Julian Assange too, and as far as PeerTube goes, I think it's going to be something I'm going to reference more and more on Twitter and other places, and like my Patreon, just because I'm trying to get people to start migrating over there. And I might actually premiere stuff on there before duplicating it on other websites, because it really is an administrative burden insofar as replicating video uploads on various websites. It's becoming a bit redundant for me, and I think there's reason to suggest that I probably should just focus on building up my PeerTube for the time being, just because it's my own server and it's my own base of work that can't be taken down, whereas other services, they really can't offer the whole package, and really the bottom line is censorship. So oh yeah, Dolly mentioned a vest tops. Okay, I will look into that. I don't think there's a restriction on what you can actually select on Teespring, and that's another reason to investigate other store service providers, because they offer different products. And I've done it too, where I've just had it printed locally. I have a shirts printed locally, which I might do that. And for those that don't know, I'm broadcasting today from South Carolina on the East Coast in the United States. And I'm joined very shortly here by Pepsi Watson. And there he is. Pep, can you hear me all right there, sir?
Yes, bro.
How you doing, man?
I'm very well. Good to see you, man. Yeah, I just had a few. Yeah, can you hear me? How's the sound?
Yeah, you're good. There's a bit of a delay because we're maybe across the pond. Hear me? Yeah, I can hear you good. How are you been, Peps? Just tell us what you've been up to recently. What's your work been like?
I can hear you okay. Yeah, I just had a bit of I've been so busy, man. Very busy developing the website for the Federation, doing lots of consultancy work, specialist consultancy work, supporting and helping those detained by the different stages of the criminal justice system, be it a parole hearing or a downgrade in security classification in a secure hospital or such like. I'm also now getting criminal justice consultancy inquiries, Addy, from as far away as America, which I've been responding to as well. So I'm just as well sort of making a few connections at the grassroots over in America as well, mainly and specifically with long-term serving prisoners who've been released, who've spent decades in the American prison system, who can aid and help and assist, and who are willing to aid and help and assist people who are having problems in the criminal justice system, and to help them with their insight and their wisdom and their expertise and their inside knowledge of the American prison system. So yeah, we're helping people over here in the UK who are in the criminal justice system, and we're also helping people now as far away as America, which is just fantastic. Yeah.
That's great, Peps. Yeah, and you did a follow-up interview with Sean Atwood. I know that's premiering at the top of the hour, I believe, which we're gonna just try to send people to. But yeah, I wanted to ask you about that interview, how you thought that went, and then what because we just played your Julian Assange piece where you talked about HMP Belmarsh that was featured by RT, which is a great piece, and I'm probably I've linked it before, but people can just type in Pepsi Watson RT and it'll show up on YouTube. I think it's got 80,000 views now, so it's getting up there in views. Yeah, and just maybe touch on that, and then the U.S. UK relations too, as well as anything else you want to touch on, Peps.
Yeah, I mean the RT UK Julian Assange interview that we did, that we filmed outside HMP Belmarsh, the high secure prison here in the UK, at London. It was a great experience. It was a great experience to work with the journalists and the camera guy from RT UK. I would say that they are the most professional broadcasters and journalists mainstream here in the UK that I've worked with. They were very, very professional, and they were easy to work with, and they remained impartial throughout. And it was a good day out. We started by meeting up near the Ecuadorian embassy, where Julian Assange was dragged out before he was detained and then put into prison. So it was a great experience to record with them. Like you said, I recently recorded and filmed a new podcast with activist Sean Atwood that premieres on the hour at 6 o'clock in 12 minutes time. It was good, you know. It was good to get back down to South London to see Sean. It was great to see Sean, as always. Sean was, as always, very welcoming, very pleasant, and we had a great day filming. It was great to meet the guys again and to see them, and to see James and Joe, and to film and shoot our part 2 UK Prison Horror Stories podcast. The bulk of the podcast focused on my experiences in the criminal justice system with the controversial IPP sentence, and my experiences over the last 2.5 years since we filmed the first podcast in December 2018 with Sean.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's great, Pepsi, and we're all excited for that. It's starting in a few minutes here, as you said, about 11 minutes. And again, great piece there in our RT, and would love to meet up with you again, Pepsi, whenever it's safe to go to the United Kingdom. To be honest, I don't even know if that's legal now. Are you guys allowed? Because we can't even go to Canada, as far as I know, unless it changed recently. But anyways, yeah, do you want to just talk about U.S. UK relations in just making jokes about the current geopolitical climate? Yeah, what are your thoughts on the whole, the West in general, but maybe with focus on relationship between our countries?
Well, we've had a shift of recent with the election of Joe Biden. This is obviously and clearly significant. Also today, I mean, I personally have been watching the George Floyd trial of the police officer who has been charged with second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and some kind of involuntary manslaughter charge. So just about 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago, the first witness has been called to the stand. This is a fascinating trial. It's being live streamed. It's being recorded. The prosecution earlier, a couple of hours ago, presented their case to the court. Then the attorney for the police officer who's been charged with these offences presented his case to the court. From my perspective, from what I've heard and what I saw, and I was watching it was live streamed on the broadcasting agency Sky News. It appears to be, from a legal perspective, a legal standpoint, a very strong and compelling case against the police officer. The attorney for George Floyd presented his case, and he was very clear that the video would be a significant part of the evidence presented to the jury and to the court. This near 9-minute video. Prior to the start of the trial, prominent leading civil rights activists were giving speeches outside the court in Minneapolis with the family of George Floyd. It was very powerful. And those activists spoke about America being on trial at the moment, and that the justice system is for everybody, not just the white man, but for people of all colors and creeds. And whilst the judge and the media have tried to state that this is actually not a political case, I mean, it clearly is a political case. This is a huge trial, a massive trial. For me, it's very significant because it represents a shift in the power imbalance, which is prevalent across all world criminal justice systems, where these world criminal justice systems are, by way of design, structured and set up and created and engineered in a way which protects the rich, protects the wealthy, protects the powerful, because they've got the resources and they've got the manipulations of the laws to help the elite and the powerful evade justice, no matter their crimes, and to help them evade accountability. And without accountability, how can there be justice? So at the same time, these power imbalanced world criminal justice systems systematically target, criminalize, and demonize people from poor socioeconomic communities, poor people, and non-whites specifically as well. And so for me, this trial represents a shift in that power imbalance, where if this police officer is convicted of all charges of second and third degree murder and the other charges, and he is given the maximum sentence, which in that particular state is 40 years, a life sentence, a 40-year life sentence, that for me will be hugely significant, because it will display to the world, it will be symbolic to the world of a shift in that power imbalance, a shift that is turning favorably to the people, instead of remaining the same in terms of being favorable to the elite and the powerful. So this is huge. It's huge for America. It's huge for the world. The world is watching. The UK are watching. Black Lives Matter are watching. Grassroots civil rights movements are watching. So it's fascinating. It really is. Just quickly, going back to your original question, I'm aware that UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson did have a phone call with President Biden, I think very much early on, after the inauguration of Joe Biden, which is expected. You know, this is expected. The UK are America's friend, and that relationship will continue, and will be as strong as ever. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But it'll be interesting to see how this trial materializes over the coming days and weeks. And at this juncture, I'm not sure how long that trial is going to go on for. But I know the first witness is on the stand right now. It's very, very interesting, fascinating stuff, Addy.
Okay, great. Yeah, I did see that it was ongoing. I tuned in for a couple minutes, but I haven't actually been actively paying attention to it. So that's great that you have updated us on that and your take on that as well. And I know you got your website launched, you got your YouTube and Twitter back, and I put those links in the description box. And we talked about merch too, which you can find my merch on Pepsi's site too in the near future. But yeah, what else do you want to plug, Pepsi? We got our last kind of 4 or 5 minutes here before Sean starts.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just continue with what you just said there. You know, thanks for talking about that and plugging that. Yeah, the website is live. That's been officially launched tonight on a Q&A live feed immediately after the Sean Atwood True Crime IPP podcast. So that podcast goes live at 6, and then I'll be live streaming from 8:15, 8:30 GMT, where I will officially launch the website, the Federation website, the Political Federation of Equality and Justice. This is a grassroots people power movement of the people for the people. This is our response. This is our response, a collective, unified voice, you know, to resist the oppression of the time at this juncture in modern Britain. You know, for oppression to exist, there must and has to be unity in oppression. So there must and has to be resistance, unity in the resistance to oppression, you know. So that's what we are. That's what our federation is. Our federation is a unified resistance to the oppression of our time in modern Britain. We are a 4-tier multi-strand federation. That's all explained on the website with all of the different and various ventures that we do, including addressing many of the issues that are currently blighting the modern day social crisis in Britain, such as homelessness, the mental health epidemic, the counterproductive draconian drug laws in modern Britain that cause so much unnecessary harm and cost the taxpayer billions. We're also going to venture out into the social housing situation in modern Britain. That's something that I'm currently looking at. We are very focused on education and on the arts and the sciences, and encouraging the people who are oppressed, who have no voice, to have a voice and to give them a platform with our federation to display and showcase their voice and their capability and their talents in the arts and the sciences. That's something we're very keen on. We are still actively distributing educational books to those detained by the courts, not just in the UK but worldwide. So yeah, check out the website. The Twitter's live. The Federation Twitter is live. The Federation Facebook page is live. All those links are being all of the descriptions this evening. Our patrons live as well. I'm having a few technical. YouTube channel, the Federation YouTube channel is still live. I mean, that sort of evolved from the Crime and Justice TV YouTube channel. That's now evolved into the Federation YouTube channel. So I've just been tidying that up and revamping it and sorting out thumbnails and such like, and getting a bit creative with that. So there'll be uploads on that channel. So check out that channel where we'll be displaying our Federation work. And yeah, that's about it really for the moment, Addy. So I appreciate you putting all the links in the description. Yeah, cheers.
Of course, Pepsi. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and we're all gonna go check out Sean now. Stay frosty, folks, and we'll be chatting with Pepsi Watson again very soon.
All the best, brother. God bless you, brother. Lots of love. All the best.